Welcome to the Dr. Dance Mom podcast, your guide to strong dancers with a bright future. I'm your host, Dr. Tara Christensen, doctor of physical therapy, dance medicine specialist, and proud dance. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Dr. Dance Mom podcast. Today, I am joined by the owner of a dance store who has also started a one-day convention that has been growing each year, and my daughter actually had the pleasure of attending last summer. Let's welcome Jessica Lascalzo, the owner of the Dance Bag and the Dance Bag Convention. And Jessica, just introduce yourself for us.
Hi guys, my name is Jessica Lascalzo. I took over the Dance Bag about 4 years ago, 4 years ago, and we started the Dance Bag Convention 2 years ago, and this will be our third season doing the Dance Bag Convention.
Awesome. We attended the Dance Bag Convention this past summer, and my daughter had a really great time. Can you tell us a little bit more about what made you start the convention and I guess just kind of your inspiration behind it?
Right. So, in a dance retail store, it gets super slow after everybody has gotten everything that they need for competition season. So you have like a really slow down period from, I would like to say like April to June, right? So I was sitting in my store and I was like, what can I possibly do to generate some sort of income or do something fresh and new and exciting to bring business into us? And I was like, I know so many people in the dance industry, and are friends of mine. And since I've been in the dance industry for so long, let me see if I can start a convention. And I wanted it to be a 1 day thing, but I then wanted the kids to be able to take classes, but then the moms or studio owners, my idea initiative was to have the manufacturers come and show their products, and all of that product that's there you can get at the dance bag. So whether it's block, whether it's honeycut, whether it's every turn, whether it's Danza, Dance in Motion, Nikolai, everybody that we carry, my vendors, who are absolutely amazing, came and they set up a table and they can show what new products are coming out and what is offered necessarily by their line and at the dance bag. So it was also a way, like an educational way for that teachers or studio owners to come and speak to the manufacturers one on one and say, hey, I like this shoe, but are you coming out with this or something like this upcoming season? And they could have a period of time where they can talk directly to those people that know exactly what's going on instead of asking me questions and me relaying it, and it going like through the grapevine. So I thought that that would be great. And that's exactly what happened. And they set up a table and the people can shop and studio owners have come and ask questions. And then the kids take class all day long in a nice stress free environment. I break it up into 3 groups, 8 and under, 9 to 11, and then 12 and over. And honestly, a lot of people do it by that January 1st age. Mine is, if you're with your friends and majority of them are 12 years old, by all means go with, if you want to go up, then go up. If you want to stay with the juniors, then stay with the juniors. Like, this isn't a convention where we're judging your ability or your skill or something like that. We're really just there for the love of dance, the love of the art, and for you to see what else is coming out, in the upcoming season. So that was the reason for it. So then it was also, to be honest with you, a really nice influx for us to make sure that our store was stocked and ready for our clients, come September, when it's the big rush, it's our big time of year. So to make sure that the product is there and make sure that everybody's there. So it was more like a business idea, along with the love of dance, to combine both of them together. So it was nice.
Yeah, and so you mentioned there's 3 different levels, right? So there's kind of
Yes.
like a mini junior, teen
A mini
senior
room, then a junior room, and then teen and seniors are mostly together. I
together.
do cap it, because I don't want the overcrowding.
Yes.
I want children to be able to see the teachers. I want them to feel like they get a personal experience where they, after, I make sure I tell my teachers, like, end your class at this certain time so that the kids can go up and take pictures with you. And they feel,
Yeah.
I'm very big on running on time because we all know dance competitions and dance, conventions can run over. It's a
Yeah.
Sunday. Nobody wants to spend their hours there, like they want to
Mhm.
get in, they want to get out, they want to do what they have to do. So I took all of those things that I like about conventions or I would have liked about a convention or a competition, and I'm trying to apply them to my own, you know, thing that
Yeah.
I'm doing. But I definitely cap it. I make sure that there's enough space and enough room. I also provide like tap boards and,
Yep.
I loved that we
Me
were
too.
able to provide tap boards for everybody that was there so that kids aren't tapping on carpet, that they
Yep.
can hear Jason's sounds,
Yep.
so amazing, so clear. And what an experience to just see his artistry and hear his rhythm and musicality and everything like that. That's an experience. And I think that that's
It
super
is.
important. So,
Yeah, and I like just from my own experience, so my daughter's like favorite style of dance is tap. And
right.
so she was very, very excited to
Yeah.
take class with and meet Jason.
Yeah.
And he signed her tap shoes and she's been wearing them ever since. And she's doing her first solo this year and it's a tap solo. And so she had convinced herself, she's 11, turning 12,
Right.
that she was going to wear those shoes all season because he had signed them. They were like her lucky shoes, and she grew out of them.
Oh
And it
no.
was to the point where I had to buy her new tap shoes, and she was like, "But I can't." I was like, "It'll be okay. Like
It'll be
you'll get
okay.
new shoes, and next summer we'll get them. You'll see
We'll
them
get them
again. We'll get them
signed.
signed." So, but she was, I mean, she complained about her foot hurting, and I was like looking, and I was like, "Do these shoes even fit you anymore?" And I looked at her feet, and I was like, "There's no way these shoes actually fit." She was just stuffing her feet into them because he had signed them, and she didn't want to let them go. So,
That's so
but she did. She had a great experience, and what I really loved about it is that it was very well organized.
thank you.
Not that I wasn't expecting it to be. I just didn't know what to expect. It was my first experience.
Right.
Um, but it was very well organized. Everything I thought ran very smoothly throughout the day. There was no like commotion around it, if that makes sense. I don't know if that sounds weird to anybody, but do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it gets very like,
I think it's because you take that stress and that competitive atmosphere
I
out of
think
it right
so.
now.
Yeah.
And being well organized, I feel like, first of all, the staff is just my family. it's my,
Yeah. It's
it's really
amazing.
my family, and the girls that work at the dance bag or previous students that had come and helped me out a little bit. Whether it was to check in or whatever the case may be. Um, and I just tried to make sure that it was running on time and running smooth. So, like all the teachers knew at what time that they needed to stop teaching, take their
Hmm.
pictures, go to another class, transfer it and keep it moving there. I also work really closely with his name is Daniel Vasquez. He runs rave competition, and he's our MC, and he is unbelievable, and he brings a sort of excitement, at that last closing ceremony,
Yeah.
and handing out awards and stuff like that. There are still some kinks in it, obviously, but it's our second year, so we're just trying to just
Yeah.
push through a little bit more. But I appreciate you saying that it ran, smoothly and
Yeah.
nicely. That's probably one of the biggest compliments I could probably get.
Yeah. No, I really felt like it did. It was great. So can you tell everybody about like what teachers you have this year?
Sure. So I have Alicia Cash who does ballroom, and I love her because she's part of the Lacey Swimmer Ballroom Experience that Sodanza also puts on with her. And she's just a really wonderful teacher that brings so much energy, and she's great for kids also that are in this type of world that is like she makes you love ballroom, that they're not necessarily ballroom dancers, but they know that it's a a style of dance that they have to do and that they love to do. So she's great for like beginner ballrooms and convention ballroom classes. And she has great energy. She has great vibe. She's so cute. She's so funny. I love
Hmm.
her. I have Julius Rubio, who is a star. He's been in the Heights. He was in West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's new one. He's been in The Greatest Showman. He does choreography for cruise lines. He's actually a childhood friend of mine that I've known since Miami, back in the day when he danced at Dance Attack, and we used to dance together a lot. So,
Great.
Julius Rubio, the Sullivan twins were actually my students.
That's awesome.
At one point, yes, they were. I always used to say they're like the double mint twins.
Yes.
They're just so unbelievable. They've always had a sense of like how to intensity and artistry to their craft. They're very much love being a twin. You know,
Mhm.
they're unbelievable. Such sweet girls. So they were my students for a very long time. Then I have Michael Monday coming this year. Michael Monday, I met through another teacher, and we just clicked. And he does. He what does he do right now? He does a whole bunch of stuff, but I think what he's most recently doing is he choreographs for Tony Braxton right now.
Okay.
So that's his newest thing. And then I have Jade coming. We call that they call her Jade Bug, but she is an amazing hip hop dancer and choreographer and is very sought after in LA. She does all these movies and she does all this stuff, and she also has a shoe with Fuego. So Fuego
Nice.
will be coming to the convention as well. So yeah,
Nice.
she's unbelievable. We're really excited to have Jade coming. So I mean, I think all in all, it's just and then of course Jason Samuel Smith. Sorry, how did I forget him? We were just talking about him. Jason Samuel Smith, obviously for TAP, and he teaches just the juniors and the teens.
Mhm.
It's just the juniors, the teens, and the seniors. He doesn't teach the minis. His classes are so difficult, are
They
so
are.
hard. They really are. And it's so funny how everyone just sits and watches and like listens to it. And I love that we have a Jaya board, and you
Yep.
can plug in the board and it amplifies his sounds.
Oh,
So you can
that's
hear
cool.
his sounds through it. And just hearing him through the loudspeaker of just his sounds of his taps is just an experience in itself. So
It is.
so having those quality teachers is
Yeah.
just something that I think sets this one day dance convention apart from the other ones. And then of
Yeah.
course the manufacturers being there, which is
Yeah,
nice.
no, and it was really fun. Alicia, so my daughter had never taken a ballroom class in her
Right.
life before, before she came to the convention, and she loved it. Like she absolutely adored it. She came out and she's like, I want to take more ballroom classes. So yeah, so she definitely sparked some interest in my daughter. Like the girls, there was three girls in the junior room from
Yeah.
our studio, and they all loved it. And then Jason's class was very hard for her,
Hard.
and she was almost like beside herself because she's one of those perfectionist personalities,
Right.
and she is a very strong tapper within the studio, but like his style is just so different from the way
It
that she's
is.
learned. And so she was definitely taken aback by the fact
Right.
that it was so difficult for her. And
Right.
so she struggled a little bit, but it was a great experience, and he was so
But that's
nice
the
to
reason
her.
for, I think, these types of one day dance conventions, or when
Yeah.
you go and you take class at a Steps or a Broadway Dance Center, right? To
Yes.
just, you have that quality training that you get from your studios.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that that's not important. That's
Of
actually one of the
course.
most important, is
Yes.
to make sure that you are putting all your effort into your home studio. But sometimes to just go and take a class or to expand your horizons every once in a while,
Yeah.
at a positive, stress-free environment is really something that is great to do.
Yeah, and just
100%.
I think exposure to different choreographers
Right.
and things like that every once in a while is also really great because it's true. Like you learn kind of one style. It's great to have that incorporation of different styles, different teaching styles as well.
I mean, even when I was a dancer, like in ballet for the most part, because I was a ballet dancer for the most part, you had Vaganova, you had Balanchine, you had,
Right.
different styles, right? Um, and I was trained mostly with Cuban teachers as I was growing up.
Okay.
And they're more Vaganova based, right? But they
Okay.
have a certain type of flair. But then by the time I was 14, I was in Miami City Ballet's apprentice program, and that's all of Balanchine. So everything that I knew from Vaganova was completely different from what Balanchine is. It's very off balance. It's all, a little bit more expressive. It wasn't so regimented. And I remember my teacher saying, okay, we'll take a little bit of one and take a little bit of other, and then it's going to make you who you are as a dancer. You know what I'm saying? And your
Yeah.
own individualized style,
Yeah.
and you can adapt to other types of styles. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's really important
Great
as a
advice.
dancer.
Yeah, that's
It
great advice.
100% was, but it did. Don't get me wrong. It took me a while to figure it out. It was definitely. But now I can even say as a teacher, I could teach a little bit of both styles. Like how I teach is a little bit of both styles that I learned and incorporated, and I made my classes what they were, for my dancers.
Yeah.
So,
Tell us a little bit more about your background. So, you started to talk a little bit about it, right? So, you
yeah,
dance professionally, right? And then
yeah,
you've had a couple, um, just like some evolution, right, into teaching and then into the
yes,
store and things like
sure.
that.
So
So,
I
tell
think
us a little bit
as
about that. Yeah.
as a dancer, I think now I've hit like all aspects of life.
Okay.
So I started as a competitive dancer
Okay.
from the age. I think my dad always jokes. He's like, "Your first sentence was I want to dance."
Oh,
My two older sisters danced,
okay.
um, and well, let's back that up. My dad was a professional baseball player for the Padres, like, but
Oh,
didn't make it
wow.
to but it was in the minors. He ended up hurting his shoulder, but this was back in the 70s, and
Mm,
he then started. He had a best friend that was a DJ in the clubs in Manhattan or whatever, and
nice.
disco was really big. So hustle was very big, like hustle
Mhm.
dancing. And he used to, like John Travolta in Staying Alive, used to do competitions,
I
literally.
love that's
But he
awesome.
always got beat by people that had a technical background training. So he had said, if I ever have girls, they're 100% doing ballet or they're going to do dance. Okay, so instead of a family game night, we really did have a family dance night.
That's
And
cool.
we all had our own special move with our dad. Like mine was the death drop. My sister's was like the helicopter. My other sister was like the with something else, And then the
Yeah.
last dance of the night used to be my mom and dad. And
Oh,
we used to do that every Friday night.
that's
And
amazing.
me and my dad took it to a whole nother level. If you see me and my dad dance, it's crazy. But this is what happened. So then my dad realized that I kind of just took it to another level. I think
Mhm.
that you kind of can tell if your daughter has some sort of a quality about her, an interest,
Right.
or, an it
Yeah.
quality, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So competitive dance was more like it. We moved to another studio. Because we had moved from Coral Springs to Pembroke Pines, Florida, and we went to a studio close to there. And somebody had said, "Oh, she needs more ballet training." So I went to a private ballet coach, and from there, my ballet teacher only had 24 kids that she trained. It was
Wow.
called Leanna Selected Workshop, and in
Okay.
Leanna Selected Workshop, you were literally selected from the masses, and you
Mhm.
had private coaching with Leanna herself,
Wow.
and she trained us. We were like little soldiers.
Wow.
Um, she used to pick us up from school. We all had our hair cut the same way.
Wow.
We she instilled in us, how to come to, dance 15 to a half an hour,
Mhm.
early, make sure you're stretched and warmed up. She was very regimented. We would be at the studio even when we didn't have to be because we were practicing ourselves and we were video recording our trio and sending it to her. Like
Yep.
these are things that but it was a group of girls that all were into the exact same thing.
Yep.
For one thing led to another. I ended up going to another ballet focused studio called Vladimir Isayev. And from there, I got my first leading roles as like Firebird and
Wow.
Paquita. And he created ballets around me. The Arts Ballet Theater of Florida is what they're called. And I it was some of my best times were with them because it was such a positive and environment, and Vladimir was just so wonderful, and I got some really great training. I was trained by Ali Osipenko, who was the last descendant of Vaganova herself. She would come
Wow.
in from Russia to come train me, and then over the summer I would go to like Kirov Academy of Ballet, or I was in ABT, and I was doing all of those things.
Yeah.
So I was totally focused. By this time, I was homeschooled.
Okay.
Actually, I would go to high school for only homeroom. So they
Oh
would
God.
let, because my principal was like, well, let's face it, this is what your life's going to be. But
Mhm.
I was dancing with people that were 23, 24 years old, and it was really hard for me to relate, and because I was only
Yeah.
14, 15. So
Wow.
he was like, why don't you stay and come to homeroom and mingle with your peers, and then you're going to do your classes online. So my schedule from 14 years old was I would wake up in the morning, I would go for a run or work out or do whatever I had to do, eat, weigh myself, because that was a big thing, weight and everything else.
Oh, that's good.
um, Sign on, do a little bit of homeschooling. My dad would take me to then school, regular school. I
Mhm.
would be picked up by 9:30. We would go straight down to Miami City Ballet. I would take class with the company. We would have rehearsals all day. Then my dad would pick me up right after like after his work, and he would take me past to my private coaching. And then I used to go to private coaching with Magali Suarez. And I did that from 15 to about 18 years old.
Wow.
It was nuts.
A
Then I
lot.
was with yeah, I was with another company called Gamonet Ballet. I was with another a contemporary company at that time too. So I was traveling and living my best life, at a really young age. But then during an off season, somebody was like, "Oh, so you think you can dance is doing auditions? They had just did their first season. Why don't you try out for it?" And I was like, "No, no." And they're just like, "Just try it, Jess." And I was like, "Okay." So I ended up going to Chicago, and
Wow.
I made it past one round. Then I made it past another round, and before you know it, I'm on the TV show.
That's amazing.
It was crazy. So then I think I had my 18th birthday on the show, and then we
Wow.
toured for a whole year after that. Well, close to a year. It was like it was a nice amount of time. And then after I got off of tour with So You Think You Can Dance, I went right on tour with Shakira for another couple of months.
Wow.
And then from there, like I just did like odd jobs, whether it was award shows or whether it was a different artist or pop-ups or something like that. And then I had gotten the opportunity to teach, because I still had that So You Think You Can Dance name, Jessica from So You Think You Can Dance. But I was hired initially to just be a ballet teacher. And then what happened is she's like, you know what? You could teach other styles. So I started teaching other styles at their summer intensive. And from there, it was like, you know what? You're going to come and work at the studio. And I was like, what? So I ended up, I ended up moving in with the teachers from the studio
Wow.
in one house.
Wow. Sounds like a
And
TV show.
it was crazy. I'm telling you, it's been, and this is now, I'm 21, 22.
Wow.
So I moved into the house, and everything was about the studio and about our kids. And uh, I was still like living like a life, right?
Mhm.
Like I was going out in the city and having a great time being, young and free. But then I knew that I had to teach, my 8 and 9 year olds at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning. So,
Yeah.
like there are those things, you had your responsibility. So when
Yeah.
I had moved out, my dad was like, "You'll be back. You'll be back." I never came back. I've now
Wow.
been here for over 15 to 16 years.
Wow.
So, okay, I taught at the studio for a very long time. Um, I ended up meeting my husband. I got married. I had two kids
Amazing.
during COVID, and I had one kid before COVID, and then the
Mhm.
second kid was happened during COVID.
Yeah.
Um, and then I went back to the studio for one more year, but then it just wasn't for me anymore. And I feel like it's a special type of woman to be able to, separate your kids and the studio kids, because
Yeah.
my studio kids were like my kids. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it was really hard. So ultimately I chose my own family, and I
Mhm.
didn't know what I was going to do. And I had called the previous owner from the dance bag and I was like, hey, I think I want to start taking ballet classes for myself again to get back into shape. And she
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Yeah, come in. But, I could really use the help. So if you want to like, randomly, come in and help me, I could really use it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing that for like 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, she was like, you'd be perfect to own the dance bag. I called my husband and I was like, do you want to own a dance store? And he was like, I don't know. Do you? And I was like, why not? And then
Oh,
hence
wow.
here we are.
Here we are.
Like
That's
that is how
amazing.
it all has transpired. I didn't know the
Wild.
first thing about retail. I didn't
Yeah.
know the first thing about a business itself. I have never had a real job that way besides dance. I
Mhm.
just knew dance. So I feel like when you come into the dance bag, you're not just buying clothes. Okay. You're
Mhm.
not just wearing shoes. I know what it's supposed to look like. I know what it's supposed to fit. I know how you should feel within those clothes.
Yeah.
I know how important it is that Sally Joe has this leotard and everybody looks the same, but you don't, and you want to look just like them because guess what? When you feel good, you're going to dance good. I know that because I lived through it. Okay.
Yeah.
I know the stress now of being a mom and knowing that my kid doesn't have exactly what she needs. Okay. And you're stressed about it because you want to make sure that she feels good. You know what I'm saying? And you want the best possible things for her. So now I've gone, I know what it's like to be a studio director and know that everybody doesn't have the same color tights. Okay. And you're on stage and it doesn't look uniformed. And you're like, what is going on? Okay. That's not the product I want to put out. So I approach my business now in putting myself in my clients, whether you're a studio owner, a dancer, or a mom, in that type of way. I'm not going to say that it's always easy and that I do my best because I truly care.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And I feel like anybody that comes into my store knows that I try to be really upfront and honest with you about like, hey, you know what? I know you need that. Uh, but I can get it for you, but it maybe not be until this time. Or let me call and see if somebody else has it and let me try to work it for you. That's how I try to approach my business. And honestly, it may not be the best for my pockets, but it's good for my heart.
Yeah.
Is that weird? It sounds so
No, I can
crazy.
relate to that in so many ways. It's so
It's
relatable.
my husband's just like, what did you just do? I was like, when I called
Mhm.
another store and I was just like, but they needed it. Like they needed it tomorrow. But I feel like people respect that because
They
then they
do.
know that it's not about getting your money from me. It's
Yes.
about making sure that you feel your daughter is what she needs.
Yep.
And hopefully you'll come back and think of me the next time you need something,
Yes.
instead of going to Amazon or whatever else, it's a
Yeah.
really rough time right now in
Mhm.
our industry as dance retailers
I
because
believe that.
a lot of the manufacturers and Amazon, they're cutting out the middleman and we are the middleman.
Yep.
And but I'll tell you this, if you don't have a dance retail store, if you don't have somebody that's going to advocate for them, then you're just one of the many and you're one of the masses. Okay. And you
Mhm.
don't have that personal touch. So when you come to the dance bag, it's a personal experience. It's that I truly do care about my clients. I know I've seen these kids now for the past 4 years grow up,
Yeah.
you know? And I may not be your teacher, but I know your teacher. I know how much she cares. I know what your teacher wants, and I know how I can provide that service for you. So that's what I try to base my business on. And that's
Yeah.
the same approach that I try to give my convention too. It's out of love. It's not out of just dollars and cents. I didn't get into this business thinking, hey, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to own a dance store. If anything, I'm worse off than what I was before at this point.
Yeah, that's
You
yeah.
know?
It's rough out there, let me tell
It is
you.
rough. It's hard in these streets, but I'm doing all that I can with hoping that people see and the transparency that we have here at the Dance Bag, and know
Yeah.
that I am a one woman show too. I do it for the most part all. I do have my right hand. I call her my right hand. Her name is Hilma. She runs our custom gear department.
Yes, I
And
wanted you to talk about that a little bit.
yes, my
Yes.
custom gear department. We do uniforms and jackets and stuff, blankets, hats, whatever, for studios that ask for it. We do have like a website we don't sell our shoes and everything on it, but we sell like the studio's custom gear on our website. So it would be password protected. So if your studio ended up doing business with us, it's a link on our page. You click it, it's password protected, and then it's anything that the studio is okay with you getting. Okay. So
Right.
everything has to be approved by the studio owner. And then the orders come to us, and then we ship to the studio, and the studio will hand it out. It's a good way to take the studio owner, like something off the studio owner,
Yeah.
because they have so much going on. So if there is a problem, if there is a delay, if you haven't gotten your orders, you don't have to go to her and complain. You come to me and I hear about it, and then we see what's going on. So, um, so the studio owner can pass it out on us, and that's okay. That's the reason for our job.
Yeah.
So we do have that, the studio. But Hilma she's a jack of all trades. She's a graphic designer. She has her own business as well, and she helps out at the dance bag, and she does, she does more than I pretty much ask her to do. She goes above and beyond, and I'm really grateful to have somebody like that on my side.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
sounds amazing. And then I was just thinking as you were talking about Amazon taking out the middleman, the
Oof.
one thing that dance stores will always be needed for, I feel, is fitting point shoes.
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
we're known for that.
And so,
The
and you
dance
guys,
back. Yeah.
yeah. So, can you talk about your process?
Yeah. So for fitting point shoes, it's an educational experience. Point shoes, whether you're 9 or you're 14, 15, doesn't matter, shape your feet. So the educational process on how to take care of and what to expect in your point shoes are super important.
Yeah.
So initially I come and I say to you, point shoes are never going to feel like slippers, Uggs, or anything that's super comfortable. There's a level of it being uncomfortable, but you should always feel pressure. You shouldn't feel pain.
Hmm.
I talk directly to the student, because once they leave the store, mom and dad can't help them. They're not wearing the shoes. It's legitimately the child.
Yeah.
So, regardless of whatever age you are, you need to understand clearly what it is that we're talking about. So, we go through the anatomy of a point shoe. What is the vamp? What is it made out of? Where is the shank? What's the box? Um, Feet care, right? If your toenails are too long, if they're too short, how to take care of it, right? All of those things. And then I sit there and I evaluate your foot. I make you point your feet. I make you go on releve. I look to see what your arches are doing, the flexibility of the foot. I ask about injuries, if there's anything like that. And then I fit the dancer not with what I have in my store, but what would be best on their foot.
Yeah.
Okay. Because everybody's foot is different.
Right.
It's shaped different. Do you have long toes? Do you have short toes?
Yes.
Is it wider? Is it, does your heel, do you have a disappearing heel, which means like your heel goes one way,
Yeah.
but so all of those things, like how does it align on your foot? How do you feel? Are you lifted? Are you knuckling in your shoes? These are things that I'm looking for
Hmm.
as a shoe fitter, okay, to make sure that you're getting the proper fit, okay, and that you feel good when you're in your shoes. And I always tell my dancers the first couple of times that you wear your shoes, they're not going to be super comfortable, but refrain from manually altering the shoes.
Yes.
You see a lot of dancers and they break and they bend and they do all of those things. But those are professionals that are doing their shoes or very experienced dancers because they know that their shoe has got to be where it needs to be right away. They're not the average dancer that's taking the 1 to 2 times a week,
Hmm.
and you're doing only 30 minutes of
Yeah.
class, and then you're breaking your shoes. Don't do it. Let your sweat, let the muscles in your feet build up to break in your shoes, because then it's going to last the nice amount of time. I always say when you prematurely break your shoes, you end up breaking your parents' bank accounts because your parents, you're going to be like, my shoe's dead, I can't wear it. And you're going to be like, oh, I needed to get another shoe.
Yeah.
Also, at a young age, they grow out of the shoes so fast.
Yeah.
I'm fitting a person like somebody would fit like a skate. It
Hmm.
has to be completely fitted to their
Yes.
foot,
Hmm.
because if it's too loose or if it's too wide or whatever the case may be, you're going to move around in that shoes, and that's going to cause the bunions, the blisters, and the calluses. But it's very dangerous for your ankles, your knees, and your hips.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that I'm fitting the foot that's in front of me. So sometimes I always get my kid outgrew her shoe before it was necessarily dead. That's not. I can't, when it comes to point shoes, I have to fit that way.
Yeah.
When it comes to like a tap shoe or a jazz shoe and you want some room in it, 100%. I always do it to withstand a growth spurt. Um, so those are the type of things that we
Mhm.
look for and we do as a dancer. But then after the whole process of the fitting and you find the right shoe, I always make sure to tell them that they have to take it back to their studio director or ballet teacher so that it gets approved. In
Yep.
the unlikely event that they don't like the shoe or it's not the right fit for them or they see something else, bring the shoe back, tell me what she said, and we'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And we can adjust it. If I can't figure it out, then me and the teacher will end up having a nice like a conversation, and we will talk about what we see best for the child. They see her every day. I see her for 15 to 45 minutes one time, when she gets a fitting.
Yeah.
It's completely different. So I always try to include the ballet director or the teacher to make sure that they're in the process with us. I actually love when a studio director comes with me and can see the shoes and see what's going on. And then we talk about how to take care of the shoes, airing the shoes out, not leaving your toe pads in them, making sure you get a mesh bag, like,
Mhm.
keeping the mesh bag on the outside of your sweaty dance bag so it's not
Yep.
encrusted in there. So those are all things that it's a process. And
Yep.
parents always leave and they're just like, I didn't know that there was so much to know about point shoes
There's a lot.
or the fittings.
Mhm.
And it makes me feel good that I gave them that type of experience and they knew that they had that one-on-one conversation with me that we can, talk about if there's any questions or concerns. And I always tell them that after their first pair of point shoes, bring that same shoe back to me. And since
Yeah.
you know what it feels like to be on the shoes, tell me, did you like the shoe? Do you want to try something different?
Right.
Now that you know what it feels like, because you're just taking the word of it from me. Now that me and you've had some experience on it, tell me how you feel. And it's very much, I like to interact with the dancer themselves to make sure that they get that type of confidence where they feel like they have a say in what's going on within their feet, because it's super important for that. And it shapes them and it shapes their feet for the rest of their life. I mean, think about it. Even if you are a dancer is considered quote unquote old at like what, 35, right? Like say a ballet dancer,
Yeah, we've been having this
right?
conversation a
I
lot
know
lately.
it's just saying you're considered quote unquote old, or they still have to use their feet for another how many years,
Right.
and legs. So imagine if it's all bunioned up and
Yeah.
toes crooked, and I mean, like, it's because initially people, now when you see dancers, they didn't have that type of education
Right.
when it came to it.
Yeah.
Right now we know better.
Yeah.
Now there's a science behind it. Now there's stuff to make the feet feel different and feel good as they're dancing. So since we have that, why not use it? why
Mhm.
not why not make it easier for the dancer?
Yeah.
you know
And like that's my entire like that you just described my job. So um because as a PT, like even it's so important, I think, for dancers to work with someone that understands. I mean, I didn't grow up, I did dance when I was young, but not to
Right.
like a competitive level.
Right.
So I have a basic understanding, and anyone can learn, honestly. Like the fact that I didn't dance professionally doesn't take away from the fact that
No.
I can still learn about these things. And so for a while I was kind of like, is this the right fit for me? But I absolutely love it. And I love it because I feel like there's so many gaps in like care that they get orthopedically
Right.
when they get injured. And so I have been able to fill a lot of those gaps, but educating on some of these things as well, because I think a lot, it's about longevity, right? So
Yes.
why is a 35-year-old dancer considered old? Probably because their body, don't doesn't withstand dance
No.
for much longer. But why? Like that's, for me, that's always the underlying question. And I think now dance medicine is so much more accessible to
Yes.
practitioners, that hopefully that's not the case in the future, there's no longer going to be that kind of stigma around,
Right.
because people will be dancing longer because they're taking better care of their bodies, they have that education. So but to your point, yes, with the point shoes especially, I took a point shoe fitting class just so I could understand the process and
Right.
the shoe as it applies to the anatomy of the foot, so that when I'm
Right.
working with people, I can then give them
Yeah,
advice,
understand.
look at them in
Yeah,
their shoes and say, like, maybe you should go get refitted, or, especially after injury, if something's going on.
right.
So, but I think that's so important. So yeah, I think it sounds like you have a very good personalized approach, which I love.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I know what it felt like to be on point shoes. I know what it looks like when I see a dancer and what I want her shoes to look like, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but then again, I will say this, there are those times that it looks great in the store and it feels great initially, but then when they dance on them, they're just like, this shoe was not for me,
Yeah.
right? And I always tell them, like, honestly, you're never going to know if you like this shoe or if this is going to work for you until you dance on it,
Yeah.
right? So let's just take it from there. Not to mention, this year has been the worst with supply and demand when it
Yeah.
comes to point shoes or getting inventory and stuff like that. It's been harder than, I mean, it's been as hard as it was probably during COVID
Yeah.
right now.
That's what I'm hearing.
It is rough out there. And when we do get them, a lot of I'm like, well, if you like the shoe, then make sure you pre-order them, or you order them in a nice chunk of time. I'm still waiting for orders that I ordered in August
Oh my
that I
gosh.
didn't get. Exactly.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Whether because you're in like I guess for the manufacturers, you're in like a supply like list,
Yeah.
right? And then I must have put in like 4 or 5 orders. And what they did is combined all my orders at once and just gave me any shoes from those 5 orders. So it's not like I could keep track and say order number zero zero nine
Right.
five is coming in at this time, which I thought it would be. That's not how it works. It
Yeah.
was like 0095 plus this one plus this one. So you're going through all of your orders like,
Yeah.
okay, I got this shoe or I got this shoe. It's so unorganized the way that they do it.
Yeah.
Um, that and then the good thing about dance retailers, or there is a like a Facebook page or whatever, it's a dance retailers
Okay.
exchange or whatever, and us dance stores talk to each other like, I need such and such shoe, does anybody have it?
Oh, that's nice.
And it's so nice because I could get a shoe from, I don't know, Grand Rapids that just
Yeah.
came in, because he had 2 of my shoes,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, do you have this one? And then we do the wholesale
Wow.
pricing plus shipping, and we get it for our clients. But we work closely with other dance retail stores because the manufacturers can't help us
Yeah.
and are honestly trying to take the business away from us, and they need it. I get
Yeah.
it. Everybody's looking for a buck right now. But if we don't help each other out, then we're gonna
Yeah.
cease to exist at one
Everyone's gonna
point.
sink. The whole ship's going down.
The whole ship's going down. So it's really nice to have that support of that group or those stores or stores that you were. I work really closely also with a store in Tom's River. Her name is Angela, and she runs Encore Dance, and I just love her and her energy in
Yeah.
general. Right. And she's just like, hey, how are you doing today? Or, and it's not about competition. It's more
Yeah.
about just like lifting another woman owned
Business.
business
Yep.
up,
Love that.
okay, and talking about your struggles or your day-to-day things, or how can I help you, or what do you need, and that kind of stuff. And it's such a positive, you
Yeah.
know community, and I love that about it.
Yes.
So I mean, listen,
Absolutely.
I'm learning every single day. I don't know the first thing about business. I don't know the first thing about I learn every single day by hands-on experience.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to be mom. I'm just trying to be wife. I'm just trying to be business owner. And I'm just trying to do the best that I can. And I feel like that's kind of relatable,
Yes.
right? Like, I
Absolutely.
feel like everyone is
1000%.
just trying to figure it
Hmm.
out too. Everyone's trying to figure it out. So,
Yeah, I think it's an illusion when you think like everybody has things figured out. I think the
yeah,
more life experience I have and the more conversations I have with people, the more you
right.
realize everyone's just trying to figure it out. Some people just have been doing it longer than others,
Right.
you
And
know?
yeah, and don't get me wrong, there are those lucky breaks from time to
Of
time,
course.
and that's great. But I stay in my own lane. I wish
Mhm.
everyone well, and I try to just focus on how I can do my job better, provide for my family,
Yeah,
and be the best that I can be on a daily
that's
basis,
all you can
And
do.
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's within
that's,
your
that's,
control. It's all you can
it's all
control, so you might as well just
right.
only focus on that because There's no point in focusing on anything outside of that, to be
A
honest with
hundred
you.
percent,
Yeah.
and a good bottle of wine at the end
Yep.
of the night is so really much needed.
Yes. Some days more than others.
Yes, some
Depends on
days
what
more than
season
others.
it is, right?
Oh
Oh
gosh, yes,
gosh.
yes, 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 yes.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell our listeners about the store, about the convention, about anything else you have coming up?
Well, come and see what's going on here in the store. We're
Yeah.
at the Paramus Park Mall in Paramus, New Jersey. I'm right next to Sephora, so it's a really
Oh,
great
lucky me.
location.
Oh my gosh,
It
that's
is. So
terrible
you
for
walk
me,
in, I'm in the
but great
center of
for
the
you.
mall. It is. So you get your makeup for dance. I'm right across from Victoria's Secret, so your undergarments or whatever you
Nice.
need, and then you come to me. Come see us. You won't be disappointed. We will do everything we can to facilitate what you need in a timely fashion and manner. And then for the Dance Bag Convention, it is August 16th. Sorry,
That sounds
Sunday,
about
the
right.
August 16th. I think that's it. At the Park Ridge Marriott in Park Ridge, New Jersey. Tickets are on sale right now. It's a great experience. I'm sure we're going to have more vendors this year. I know you'll be
I
there
will.
as a vendor as
Yes.
well. And just come for a positive experience in a day of dance that's just enjoyable. Okay. We tell you when there's lunch, you're not guessing.
Hmm.
We let you know. If there's anything else that you need, we try to facilitate the schedule a week or two in advance so you know what classes are when. You don't have to take every class. You are paying for every class, but like if you're not a tapper and you don't want to do tap, that's a great time to shop and see what, each vendor has. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing ballroom or whatever the case may be, it is very stress-free. And it's just a really great opportunity for you guys to come out and dance with your peers.
So be sure to go visit Jessica at the store or register your child for the Dance Bag Convention. I know we'll be there in the summer. We had a great experience last year. So I do encourage everybody to register and come join us. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something. Please be sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Also, make sure you head over to Instagram and YouTube and follow us there. Send us your listener questions, topic suggestions, and feedback at drdancemompodcast@gmail.com. That's Dr. fully written out, Dance Mom Podcast, also fully written out, @gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening.